Hi, fourth graders, this is Mrs. Boughton. We're continuing our reading lesson focusing on animal senses. The skill we're using is wonder, where we're wondering about different things to make sense of what we're reading. When we think in terms of wondering, it gives us a purpose for reading or what we're looking for. We've also been reviewing different text features that we have in this nonfiction book. You're going to need your reading notebook and a pencil. If you need to pause the video here to go and get it, please do so. If not, continue on. Open up your reading notebook to your table of contents. The date is 11/11/20, and our topic is animal senses, smell, and taste. And again, your page number is whatever page number you are on. When you turn to your first blank page, I want you to write animal senses hearing at the top. And then I want you to take a few minutes to reflect. The question I want you to reflect about is, what have you learned about animal senses so far? You don't need to write this question, but I want you to write 2 or 3 things on your paper about what you have learned. So you can even do it just in either bullet or number sentences. So try to come up with 2 or 3 things that you learned about animal senses so far. Since we've learned about sight and hearing, you're writing about one of those 2 senses. Pause the video here so you can write down your reflection. The next part of the book is about an animal's sense of smell. Think about, what do you already know about an animal's sense of smell? Maybe you have some experience with animals, or you've already read something about different animals. Based on what you think you know, what do you wonder about an animal's smell? Some animals live underwater. I wonder how animals smell underwater. I also wonder, based on my cats, they open up their mouth when they're smelling something. So I wonder why my cats smell with their mouth open. In your notebook, I would like you to write 2 wonderings about how animals smell. Then we're going to read, and I want you to pay attention to what I'm reading to see if your wonderings were answered in the reading. So instead of mine saying, I wonder how animals smell underwater, now I'm changing it to, how do animals smell underwater? Or instead of saying, I wonder, I just say, why do my cats smell with their mouths open? And don't forget that question mark that you add at the end of the sentence. The heading of this section is the smell of survival. There's our heading. I noticed that there is a caption on this page that's talking about the picture. So we have a picture here of a white-tailed deer. Even if an animal is hidden and quiet, its enemies may still find it. That's because its smell can be carried through the air. Many animals just have to sniff the wind to tell what is around. With one whiff, an animal can tell if another is an enemy, a relative, a mate, or a meal. A good sense of smell is very important for survival. If you were a deer, you would not give off any scent for about a week after you were born. This would keep enemies from smelling and finding you hidden in the woods or tall grass. After a week, your mother would lick you all over to remove your scent before leaving you alone. You would have glands. Glands are parts of the body that make things such as tears or scents. You would have glands in your hooves that leave a scent trail when you walk. You could always find your mother or other deer by following their scent trails. You would sniff the wind to find out what other animals are nearby, especially before you went out in an open field. Pause the video for a second to reflect on whether any of your wonderings have been answered by this reading. The next section is titled, Take a Whiff of the Wind. Smells are carried by the wind. An animal sniffs the breeze to smell the scents of creatures upwind from it. The wind that blows away from an animal carries its scent to others downwind. Send out your own scents and discover the importance of being upwind or downwind. If you choose to do this, you'll need dried grass or leaves, a bottle of vinegar with a lid. 1. Go outside with 2 friends on a breezy day and throw some dried grass or leaves up in the air. Watch to see which way they blow so you can tell the direction of the wind. Stand so that the wind is blowing on your back. You are the predator, while your friends are the prey. Have one friend stand about 2 meters, or 6.5 feet, behind you, and the other 2 meters, or 6.5 feet, in front of you. Open the bottle of vinegar and hold it out to your side so the fumes, that would be your scent, escape easily. Have each friend yell when they first smell the vinegar. You should find that the friend in front of you or downwind from you was the first to smell the vinegar. As soon as the prey could smell you, it would leave. Your friend, who is upwind, could not smell the vinegar. You would be able to sneak up on that prey, which is an animal hunting. It is careful to stay downwind of its prey to avoid detection. The next part is called super sniffers. Imagine having a nose over 2 meters or 6.5 feet long, like an elephant. Not only is it a super sniffer, it's useful for many other things too. An elephant's trunk can suck up and hold enough water to fill 2 large soda pop bottles, as well as pick up things as big as a tree trunk. The male proboscis monkey and male northern elephant seal both have enormous noses. Their huge noses make their voices louder and deeper, which may attract mates and scare off enemies more easily. You can see how the size of your nose affects how you sound. Speak normally and then pinch your nose to make it smaller while you continue speaking. What do you hear? You should find that your voice has a slightly higher pitch when your nose is pinched. Not just noses. Nosing around comes naturally to you, but how do animals without noses smell? Insects smell with their antennae, and catfish use their whiskers and barbels for picking up scents on a lake bottom or riverbed. An octopus smells and tastes with its tentacles. When a snake sticks out its tongue, it's collecting scent particles from the air. Prior to reading, I wondered how animals would smell underwater. And this actually answered it for me. It said that catfish use their whiskers and barbels for picking up scents on lake bottom and riverbed. So by having that question in my mind, when I got to that section, it was like a little aha came into my mind, and I said, oh, there's the answer to my wondering. And that's another part. When we wonder, we're actually asking questions. So instead of saying, I wonder how animals smell things underwater, I can just say, how do animals smell underwater? Or, how do animals without noses smell things? Take a moment and go back into your notebook. Take your wonder statements and change them into questions. Let's continue on learning about how animals use the sense smell. The heading says, say it with smell. You can tell what mood your friend is in by what she says or how she looks. But what about the way she smells? Animals use sounds and sights to communicate, but smells are also very important for sending messages. If you've ever smelled a skunk's spray, you probably got the message, "Stay away," loud and clear. Read on to find out more about speaking with smells. The caption at the bottom here says, animals that live together in groups use smell to identify members of their own group. A mother antelope not only recognizes the scent of her herd, she can also find the special smell of her young within the herd. When a female moth is ready to mate, she releases a special scent to attract a male. Some male moths can smell a female more than 5 average city blocks away. Wow, that's a long time. People put up no trespassing signs when they want other people to stay away. If you were a fox, you would leave smells to warn others not to come near. These animals urinate on trees or rocks around their territory to let other foxes know that the land is occupied. When an ant finds food, it lets other ants know by passing along scent messages with its antenna. The ant also leaves a scent trail between the colony and the food so other ants can find their way. We sure learned a lot about how animals use the sense smell to help them. We're going to read about taste as our next section, and I want you, instead of using wonderings, I want you to have some questions in your mind about how animals use the sense taste. In your notebook, I want you to write down at least one question you have about how animals use the sense taste. My question is, can animals use something other than their tongue to taste? Okay, that's my question going forward. How sweet it is. Are there foods that you really like and others you'd rather not eat? Wild animals also have favorite foods. Many caterpillars eat only one kind of plant, and birds won't eat monarch butterflies because of their bad taste. Cats can't taste sweet things at all. Your taste buds are on your tongue, but you may be surprised to find out what body parts other animals use for tasting. Ooh, here's where it's going to talk about what I was questioning about. So this is a picture of a European swallow butterfly. If you were a butterfly, you would have taste buds on your feet. Oh, that's mine. Taste buds on your feet. You'd walk around on a flower before deciding if it was good enough to eat. Your tongue would be coiled up like a party blower under your head. To feed, your tongue would straighten out like a straw and suck up the flower's sweet nectar. You would be 200 times more sensitive to sweet things than a human is. A tasty test. Compare how you and a butterfly taste sweet things with this simple experiment. You'll need water, an empty 2-liter bottle, a large clean bucket or basin, sugar, a large spoon, a bowl. 1. Pour 6 bottles of water into the bucket. Stir in 1 tablespoon of sugar. 2. Taste the sugar solution. Can you taste the sweetness in the water? 3. Now pour 60 milliliters, or about a 1/4 cup of water, into a bowl and add 15 milliliters, about 1 tablespoon of sugar. Stir well and then taste the sugar solution. How does it compare to the solution in the bucket? This solution is about 200 times sweeter than the bucket solution. You should find that the sugar solution in the bucket did not taste sweet because there was so little sugar compared to the amount of water. The solution in the bowl should have tasted very sweet. It is hard for you to taste the sweetness in the bucket solution, but a butterfly would find it very sweet. In fact, it would taste as sweet to the butterfly as the solution in the bowl tasted to you. Tasting without tongues. Butterflies, moths, and flies taste with their feet. Ooh, that's another part of what my question was. And many other insects taste with their antenna. Ooh, another part. Mussels and scallops test their food with their tentacles. If you were a catfish, you could tell if something was good to eat by swimming close to it because your body would be covered with taste buds. That's a bunch that answered my question. Talented tongues. Pour some milk into a saucer and try lapping it up the way a cat does. It's not as easy as it sounds. A cat's tongue is very rough, so the milk holds on to the tongue as the cat drinks. Cats also use their tongues to clean and brush their fur. Check out the other talented tongues on the page. That was Simba, if you wanted to know in the background. So I see lizards use their tongues to clean their eyes. A giraffe's tongue is protected from the sun with a natural sunscreen while it picks leaves from the treetops. Woodpeckers have extra long, sticky tongues that are perfect for catching insects for food. Snails have toothy tongues for shredding plants before eating them. And a toad's tongue is attached at the front of its mouth so it can flip out a long way to catch a tasty fly. Let's take a moment and think about what we have learned so far. We learned that wonder statements can help us to stay connected to the text. Our wonder statements can turn into questions, and that helps us search for information that we would want, which helps us understand the text better as well. Go back to your notebook, and I want you to write down what you have learned about animal senses. So we're going to write down one thing you learned from the reading today. So that's going to be number 1. One thing you learned from the reading today. Number 2, what did you learn about how animals taste things? So animals taste differently by, and then how are animals and human tongues different? Animal and human tongues are different because. Once you have written the answer to these questions, I want you to take a picture and submit it to your teacher in the way that they told you. When you are reading today, whether you are reading a nonfiction book or a fiction book, I want you to practice questioning as you are reading. When you're questioning in nonfiction, you're thinking about what you already know and applying it to your new reading. When you're reading in fiction, you're going to be thinking about what happens next or why did a character do something. So you're kind of asking questions as you go along. Happy reading!